Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, B1 level listening text. Introduction. More than just a beautiful face. Welcome to this audio story. Today, we are going to travel back in time, more than 2,000 years ago, to the ancient lands of Egypt. We are going to talk about one of the most famous women in human history, Cleopatra. When people hear her name, they usually think of a beautiful queen who used her looks to charm powerful men. But history tells a different story. Cleopatra was a brilliant politician, a master strategist, and the only ruler in her family who learned to speak the Egyptian language. She fought against empires to keep her country free. This is a true story of the last pharaoh of Egypt. Part 1. A young queen in danger. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in Alexandria, Egypt. Her family, the Ptolemies, were originally from Greece, and they had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. When Cleopatra's father died, he left the throne to 18-year-old Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was only 10 years old. According to Egyptian tradition, they had to marry each other and rule together. However, sharing power was not easy. The young brother's advisors did not want a strong woman controlling the country. They started a conspiracy against Cleopatra and forced her to flee from the palace into the desert. Cleopatra was alone, out of power, and in great danger. But she did not give up. She began raising an army in the desert, waiting for the right moment to return. Part 2. The Carpet and Julius Caesar. The opportunity came when Julius Caesar, the most powerful general of the Roman Empire, arrived in Alexandria. Cleopatra's brother was already in the city, trying to win Caesar's friendship. Cleopatra knew she needed to talk to Caesar first, but her brother's soldiers were guarding all the entrances to the palace. This is where Cleopatra showed her incredible creativity. She asked a loyal servant to wrap her inside a large, expensive rug or linen sack. The servant carried the bag past the guards and into Caesar's private room. When the bag was opened, Cleopatra stepped out. Julius Caesar was shocked and fascinated by her bravery, her wit, and her intelligence. Cleopatra could speak at least 9 languages, and she talked to Caesar about philosophy, politics, and economics. Caesar fell in love with her. With Rome's military help, Cleopatra defeated her brother's army and took back the throne of Egypt. Part 3. The Golden Age of Alexandria. With Caesar as her ally, Cleopatra brought a golden age to Egypt. She was a very popular ruler because, unlike her ancestors, she respected the Egyptian culture and religion. The people believed she was a living goddess. She made Egypt rich through trade and stabilized the economy. She also gave birth to a son, whom she named Caesarion, meaning Little Caesar. She hoped that one day her son would rule both the Egyptian and the Roman empires, creating the greatest kingdom on earth. However, dreams can break quickly. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of politicians in Rome. Cleopatra was in Rome at the time. Realizing she was no longer safe, she quickly packed her things and sailed back to Egypt to protect her son and her country. Part 4. A new ally and a great love. Rome fell into chaos after Caesar's death. 2 men rose to power, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, and Mark Antony, Rome's most famous general. Mark Antony took control of the eastern part of the Roman Empire, and he summoned Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsus, modern-day Turkey, to question her loyalty. Cleopatra knew how to make an entrance. She arrived on a magnificent ship with purple sails and silver oars, dressed as Aphrodite, the goddess of love. The air was filled with the sweet smell of expensive perfumes. Mark Antony was completely mesmerized. They became political allies and lovers. Antony moved to Alexandria to live with Cleopatra. Together, they had 3 children. With Antony's military power and Cleopatra's immense wealth, they challenged Rome. This angered Octavian, who was ruling the western part of Rome. He started a massive propaganda war, telling the Roman people that Antony had lost his mind and that an Egyptian queen was trying to conquer Rome. Part 5. The final battle and the death of Pharaoh. In 31 BC, the final war began. The armies of Octavian met the forces of Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium, a huge naval battle. Unfortunately, Antony and Cleopatra lost the battle and were forced to retreat back to Alexandria. Octavian's army followed them, surrounding the city. Realizing that everything was lost, Mark Antony received a false rumor that Cleopatra had committed suicide. In deep despair, he stabbed himself with his own sword. He died in Cleopatra's arms. Cleopatra was now a prisoner in her own palace. Octavian wanted to take her back to Rome as a trophy, marching her through the streets in chains to show his victory. Cleopatra's pride could not accept this humiliation. On August 12, 30 BC, at the age of 39, Cleopatra closed the doors of her room. According to legend, she allowed a venomous Egyptian snake and asked to bite her arm. When Octavian's soldiers broke into the room, they found the queen dead on her golden bed, dressed in her royal robes, looking as majestic as ever. Conclusion: the end of an era. With Cleopatra's death, the ancient history of Egypt came to an end. Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, and the line of the pharaohs stopped forever. Cleopatra's story teaches us that true power does not come from physical strength alone, but from intelligence, adaptability, and courage. She lived in a world dominated by men in giant empires, yet she managed to stay independent and powerful for over 20 years. She was not just a tragic lover. She was a brilliant queen who chose to die on her own terms rather than live as a slave.